What's up? What's up? What's up? It's me again, LaShawn Bridges. Thank you for watching my YouTube video. For those of you who have not subscribed, please subscribe each week as I discuss with you guys my subject about politics and about the upcoming Democratic presidential candidates for the year 2020. Okay. And like my videos, and also I will review any comments or concerns every week. If you want to leave a comment, feel free to do so. Okay. Again, thank you for all the ones who have subscribed. Please continue to subscribe to my YouTube channel, okay? All right, so today, okay, I am going to get into a very touchy subject. And my subject is going to be talking about a very serious subject that I tried, guys. Okay, first of all, I want to say I tried to stay away from this topic because I know that it was going to be very controversial, but I couldn't stay away from it, being, that I found out about so many candidates that are discussing this topic. So I'm talking about the subject reparations, okay? I'm going to talk about it and about what my presidential candidate of choice, Andrew Yang, thinks about this, and also the up-running candidates for the year 2020 think about this subject, okay? But first, according to the New York Times, Black families in America earn, I'm going to give you guys a little information about Black people and what they earn versus white people in America. Black families earn $57.30 for every $100 of income white family earns, okay? And Black families hold $5.04 in wealth for every $100 in white family wealth, okay? Now I'm going to get straight into what I want to talk about the Democratic candidates and their views on reparations, starting with Pete Buttigieg, okay? Pete Buttigieg does not believe, of course, in giving out reparations in the form of a check, come to find out. But he does think policies should create inequalities, okay? Now, according to Guardian.com, the candidate Julian Castro, he does not rule out direct payments to African Americans in reparation for the legacy of slavery. In fact, he states, if under the Constitution we compensate people because we take their property, why wouldn't you compensate people who actually were property? And I totally agree with Julian Castro. He's saying if we can treat people just like as if they're nothing at all and like they're a piece of property, why not confiscate them? We need to compensate, them. So I definitely agree with what his views are on that. Okay. Okay. Moving forward, Joe Biden. I found a statement back in 1975 where they were talking about his statement about reparations. Okay. This is going to be deep. Washington Post resurfaced an interview in 1975 in which the then senator opposed slavery, reparations, and school busing. Okay. According to the Washington Times, Mr. Biden told the People paper, a Delaware-based weekly newspaper, that's in 1975, his quote, okay, I do not buy the concept popular in the 60s, which said, we have suppressed the black man for 300 years, and the white man is now far ahead in the race for everything our society offers. In order to even the score, we must now give the black man a head start or even hold the white man back to even the race. I don't buy that. That's what he says, okay? He then, it gets better, says, I don't feel, his quote, responsible for the sins of my father and grandfather. And he continues and says, I feel responsible for what the situation is today for the sins of my own generation. And I'll be damned if I feel responsible to pay for what happened 300 years ago. This is, I can't make this up if I try. This is what Mr. Biden says back in the 70s. In this same interview, Mr. Biden also opposed government efforts to desegregate schools by busing white children to majority black schools and black children to majority white schools. He states, again, I oppose busing. It's an asinine concept and the utility of which has never been proven to me, he said. This is out of his own words, guys. He then says, I've gotten to the point where I think only resource to eliminate busing may be a constitutional amendment. Okay, so now we know what his views and opinions were in the 70s. how do we know that this is what, when I read this, I was just like, wow, how do we know whether or not if he feels this, still feels the same way today? Of course, this was in the 70s when he made this statement about busing and about how he feels about reparations, as far as in, he don't feel that he should suffer for the brutal acts of his generation and what they did on the African Americans during slavery. Okay, so we do know how he strongly feels about that. But how do we know if he doesn't have these same crazy views today and how he feels today? Okay, we don't, do we? Too much. Many African Americans, reason why I decided to discuss this, because there's so many African Americans out there that have thoughts of voting for Joe Biden. But despite the fact that this statement was made in the 70s, I don't believe that he was ever for reparations. And it also makes me feel that he may even still, thinks this way, even years later, today in 2019, you know. But moving forward, okay, it's going to be deep. I told you guys, okay. According to Vox.com, the racial wealth gap shows the median white household is 10 times wealthier than the median black household today. And racial inequality and economic justice have helped produce a shift in the mainstream attention to reparations, according to Vox.com. Many candidates have expressed strong views of what they would like to see happen to supporting reparations. Senator Kamala Harris, Elizabeth Warren, and former Housing Development Secretary Julian Castro have called this issue important, or at least acknowledged how history supports calls for restitution. Senator Kamala Harris, during a CNN town hall, states she would love to study the effects of centuries of institutional racism, but did not necessarily come up with actions for Pacific payouts, according to HuffPost.com. Okay, Miss Kamala Harris, I mean, again, you're talking a good talk, but you're not walking the walk. We want to know, what is your plan for reparations? Do you have a policy in place? Are you thinking about, more than just thinking about it, but are you going to come up with a policy or some kind of plan for a payout of reparations for descendants of slavery? That's what we want to know. It's simple as that, okay? That's what we like to know. Moving forward, Elizabeth Warren, okay, didn't discuss direct payouts when talking about reparations either, but she's bagging up a bill in the United States House to study the issue and acknowledge the persistence of racial injustice in America. Both Elizabeth Warren and Tulsi Gabbard desires to give out reparations in the form of educational benefits, child care, and building up black communities instead of cash payouts. Okay, when I read this, I was thinking, okay, I understand you want to try to put education benefits back into, the African American culture, and, and fund childcare to help black African Americans be able to go to work back and forth that are struggling with childcare, and build black communities. That all sounds good. But what I want to know is, when do they decide on what African Americans should get for the payout for, the torture of of what happened then during slavery? Because last I checked, it's supposed to be 40 acres and a mule. So if we're not going to get 40 acres and a mule, why is it that they decide on what our payout is supposed to be? Okay. Okay, moving forward, Senator Bernie Sanders believes that there should be a form of reparations, but not in a check or cash form. And according to Vox.com, he stated, this is his quote, guys. I couldn't make it up if I tried. This is his exact words. I think that what we have got to do is pay attention to distressed communities, he says. Distressed communities. Black communities, Latino communities, and white communities if he becomes president, he says. He goes on and says, I think that right now our job is to address the crisis facing American people in our communities. And I think there are better ways to do this than writing a check. All right. Okay. Moving forward. Democratic presidential candidate Cory Booker suggests that his baby bonds proposal that guarantees all newborn savings accounts is an effort to limit the racial wealth gap. And Kamala Harris feels her LIFT Act, which is a bill that she proposed, would offer middle-class families a massive income and uplift 60% of black families in poverty. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But my final candidate, of course, is my candidate of choice and what his views is, and Andrew Yang, and he has the view of the $1,000 a month, um, not just to be given to just African Americans. This plan, which he calls the Freedom Dividend Plan, will be given to all United States citizens 18 years of age and older. Of course, we know it's not reparations, okay? The $1,000 a month is not reparations, I repeat. But I do believe, as an African American, that what he's trying to do is be fair to all citizens that are struggling in the United States of America today. And I do believe that since Andrew Yang has proven that not only does he come up with plans, but he comes up with actual solutions of all his plans that he has introduced, all his policies come up with solutions to these policies. I do believe that he will eventually, soon as possible, come up with a cash payout or some kind of payout plan for African Americans in reparations for the descendants of slaves. Okay, so I do believe that he will do this. So I am definitely behind his policy of the $1,000 a month freedom dividend plan that he has put in place. Okay, I think it's wonderful for him to do that. So, okay, I'm gonna sort of try to wrap this up. I know this is longer than other videos, so bear with me. I just had so much information, okay, and like I said, this is a lengthy topic, so I can go on for a long time for this topic, but I'm trying to get to my point, and wrap this up here. What really is owed, do you think, to African Americans reparations? What do you believe is owed? Okay. In an article I read on PBS.org, which the article is called The Truth Behind 40 Acres and a Mule by Henry Louis Gates Jr. Okay, this was a promise to make a systematic attempt to provide a form of reparations to freed slaves. Such a policy will be radical in any country today, and land was confiscated, guys, okay? Listen to what I'm saying. The land was confiscated by the federal government, according to PBS.org, and was previously owned by the Confederate landowners on January 16th, 1865, okay? Union General William T. Sherman, Special Field Order number 15, prescribed 40 acres, but not the mule. Wow. The mule, of course, would come later. Many people didn't know that this followed a meeting with a discussion that Sherman and Secretary of War Edwin M. Stanton had a few days earlier. This is how we got the phrase, guys. You ever wanted to know what the phrase 40 acres of a mule came from? This is the reason how we got the phrase in the first place of 40 acres and a mule. So it later became a phrase that we know today, 40 acres and a mule. And each African American was supposed to obtain, okay, 40 acres of land and have it governed by the U.S. soldiers. United States soldiers are supposed to govern this land. 40 acres would include a strip of coastline from Charleston, South Carolina, and to St. John's River in Florida, all right, including Georgia Sea Islands and the mainland 30 miles in from the coast. That was supposed to be what the land was supposed to include, all right? Some of this land was given, but then this land was snatched back up from the federal government. So my question is, when and why was this land not giving back? They gave the land and then they snatched it back from the freed slaves. How cruel is that? Freed slaves that have already been tortured, tormented, went through so much stress from slavery, being tortured, just crazy stuff going on back then to slaves. I mean, I can't even really discuss or even begin to even tell you. I'm sure you guys have probably watched videos like Roots or things and probably have an idea, but we all can't even imagine the torture that these slaves have gone through. The millions of slaves gone through 400 years. Can you imagine 400 years of torture, constant torture, being treated like as if you were not even human, being treated like as if you were not even a United States citizen, because for the longest, African Americans back then weren't even considered a citizen, and not even even considered a human being or treated like a human being. Okay, they were treated just like as if they were just a thing on earth that did not breathe or did not have blood running through their veins or did not have any kind of air in their body, just like any other human. Okay, so this goes deep. I feel like that this land was snatched from them after being promised to them and given to them, and then now being governed by the government taking over the land. So you don't, I really get very, and I'm going to wrap this up, but I just don't understand how people don't feel that African Americans don't deserve to have to be compensated for the loss from what our ancestors have gone through. Yes, it did not happen to us, but it had an effect. That's what people don't understand. It had an effect on our culture, on the Black culture, on the African American culture. It had an effect on what we go through today: poverty, on economics, financial situations that we go through. It had a huge effect on our African American culture because we didn't have a start. We didn't have a good start in like other cultures. And to me, for people to say that we don't deserve to be compensated for, this crazy tragedy that happened to this brutal events that happened to slaves during this time, which is our ancestors, it affected us culturally from generation to generation to generation. And I feel that it needs to be addressed, and not just addressed, it needs to be a form of a payout, to be given to African Americans for the loss of the many slaves that were also murdered, not just tortured, murdered and killed around this time. Okay. All because of the color of their skin, because there was nothing else of a reason. It was just because of the color of their skin, of the reason why they were treated differently compared to other races and cultures. And I feel like it was wrong then, and it's wrong now, because we still deal with slavery in a sense, because we still have so much tension in the races, as far as in African American and white, and how whites view African Americans. And some people may think that there is not, so much tension, but it is. It's a lot of racist tension, especially ever since Donald Trump is in office. It's been going on for a while now. And I think that something needs to be done. There should be a payout. And I don't think that African Americans are asking for much. We're asking for something that was owed to us that we never got. So, you're telling us that you're just going to say you're sorry, and we're supposed to say, okay, they said they're sorry, so that's all we have to. We don't even want a sorry. We want to acknowledge the fact that this has had an effect on the African American communities. This is the reason why a lot of African Americans are suffering and living from paycheck to paycheck. This is the reason why many African Americans are in poverty and living in low income houses. This is the reason, because of history that leads back to slavery, that has had a huge effect on our culture and our race of people from generation to generation to generation. So we never got a beginning. We never got a start to say that we can be equal like other cultures and other races. And that's the reason why that people don't understand why we're looked down on. We're looked down, I believe, and this is just my personal beliefs, okay, and I'm going to wrap it up. I believe, as an African American citizen today, that the African American culture is one of the races that is looked down on the most, okay? Because, we don't have money the way other cultures have. Other cultures have a huge start on life. We never did have a huge start on life. A lot of our ancestors were brought over as slaves, and even when they were free, we went through segregation and was treated, a lot of our ancestors were treated terrible during segregation time. And I know you guys have watched Roots and watched some of these videos of torture, slaves, and after Roots of what happened during segregation time as well. Watch videos on segregation. I know you guys know about that. So I do believe that there needs to be some kind of form of payout, but I don't think that they should decide on what African Americans should have. It's already been written that we are supposed to have 40 acres and a mule. So if we're not going to have 40 acres and a mule, then I believe then give it us money. Give us what we need to help boost our race and culture of people, to help give us a brand new start. And if you want us to shut up, give us money, because money is what is going to help our African American have a huge boost to be able to feel equal to other cultures in America, to be able to live better than what we live in our communities and build our communities and have things, like businesses, schools, churches, and build a community that we appreciate, you know, that we deserve, because this is what was owed to us. So I'm not going to get too much any further of my opinion, because like I said, it's a deep topic and some of you may not agree with me, and that's okay. But this is my honest opinion as an African American woman. I had to discuss this topic because I feel that it's just so much racial tension going on since Donald Trump been in office. I feel like that it's always been racial tension. Don't get me wrong. Yes, it's been years and years of racial tension between the races and cultures. But I feel like it's even more tension between black people, African Americans, and white people, you know. And it's been like getting worse and worse each day as far as in the tension. And I'm telling you guys, as an African American woman, I believe that this is the reason why there's tension in the African American culture, because we are tired of them making excuses of why they cannot pay us what is owed. You're not going to go to a bank and tell a bank that, you know what, I owe you hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, okay? But I'm going to pay you out with food stamps. That bank is going to look at you crazy and be like, no, you owe me the hundreds of thousands of dollars and I want my money. I don't want no payout in food stamps. So to me, for them to try to say what they're going to pay us in education and in helping our communities in that kind of way, and this and the other, instead of paying us what is owed, which is the 40 acres and a mule, really. But if you're not going to pay 40 acres and a mule, then let's see how much 40 acres would be costing in today. Calculate that. Calculate how much each acre, maybe they could sit down and do a calculation. How much does each acre, how much is 1 acre of land worth? So if you calculate how much is 1 acre of land worth today times 40 acres of land, then there you go. To me, it's rocket science. There goes the cash payout of how much is owed to each American citizen. And don't tell me that the United States don't have the money, because this country has trillions of dollars. Trillions. It can never, not have money, because the United States make their own money. So that's bull if they're going to say that we don't have the money to pay out. They have the money to do whatever they want to do. So, if you want black African Americans to stop talking about reparations, pay us what is owed. Japanese got paid what they are owed. Pay other countries that, that they done wrong to have gotten payouts of what was owed to them. Pay us what is owed to us, okay? All right? And that's it. And you won't have to hear African Americans complain so much anymore. Actually, you won't hear anybody complain that's African American about reparations if it's paid to us. All right. So I'm going to stop right there, because like I said, I've already, went 20 something minutes in. This is a very deep topic, and I know a lot of people are going to probably have some critics that says that I'm wrong in this and wrong in that, and that's fine. Give me your opinions, but this is my opinion as an African American woman. I had to talk about this. It needs to be addressed. All right. We'll talk about it further later, and continue to watch me. Thank you guys for watching, and see you next time. And don't forget to subscribe to LaShawn Bridges. Goodbye.